Well, months into this pandemic, and countries are still learning about the virus and the disease, and just really starting to learn about its long-term health effects. There are a growing number of Canadians who are called long haulers who have had coronavirus, COVID-19, but have lingering health issues weeks or even months later. And to talk about what that has meant for her life, we're now joined by Susie Goulding. She is a long hauler, the founder of COVID Long Hauler Support Group Canada, and she joins us right now in Oakville, Ontario. Susie, thank you for joining us today.
Hi, great. Thank you so much for having me.
Listen, I want to begin with a very simple question here. Do you think people even know that COVID-19 can have long-term impacts? And I say that because I know we talk about the pandemic, but do you get the impression that except for a small number of for whom that the disease is fatal, many are under the impression that one gets COVID, recovers, and then things get back to normal?
It is pretty confusing for people, the way the statistics are been laid out. There's deaths and there's recoveries, and there's now a new demographics of people that are coming to the forefront of COVID survivors that have survived the initial acute onset of the virus, but are suffering now debilitating symptoms for months on end.
And talk to us about your own story. What has that meant for you in terms of the long-term effects of COVID-19?
It's completely changed my life. I'm not able to live the life that I used to. I'm unable to work. I'm unable to exercise or do the things that make me happy. It's just been a terrible experience as far as trying to get help from the medical community. They don't know what's going on with us. There's testing. We go for diagnostic testing, and nothing shows up on the testing, and doctors just, quite frankly, don't know what to do with us and don't know how to help us. So we're, sorry.
Yeah. No, I was wondering whether or not, for you, does that mean that you continue to have respiratory issues? Is that your main issue at this moment in time?
Well, for myself, everybody is different.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody suffers from the virus in their own way. I never had it in my lungs, but my main issues have been neurologically and gastrointestinal. So now I'm not as sharp or vibrant as I once was. I have a problem searching for words. I'll see something like, I'll be looking at the iron, and I can't tell you what it is. It won't come to my brain. The words just aren't there. I have shakes, confusion, just a lot of debilitating symptoms that make everyday life really hard and difficult to get around. I'm very dizzy all the time. I have tinnitus in my ear. And these symptoms they just go on and on. They just don't seem to go away.
That must be so heartbreaking for you to have to face that every day.
It is, and my symptoms actually pale in comparison with some of the other people, in the group. We're at over 8,000 people now, and these people can't breathe properly. They have rashes on their bodies that won't go away. People are suffering from loss of sense of taste and smell, and hearing loss, COVID onset diabetes, and blisters, bradycardia, tachycardia, and the list of symptoms just goes on and on.
And that's because, as you say, for each individual person, how the virus, the disease affects them is so different, so personalized. And I guess in part that's why you decided to start the support group.
I did. It was back in June that we started the group, and I realized that there was not a lot of medical knowledge at that point in time, and I just wanted to reach out to other survivors. We needed a platform to speak to one another, to sort of compare notes, a safe place where we could, be a shoulder to lean on for one another and be able to talk about our experiences and our knowledge. And the group is really a godsend for people. They come, and there's no judgment, and we really understand what one another have been going through.
Mm-hmm. I have less than a minute here, but I do want to ask you, Susie, as you start this support group, as you hear these thousands of stories now of how this disease has affected individual lives, What do you want healthcare officials to know? What do you want policymakers to know about long haulers and the way it might be better to support you and people like you?
Sorry, I actually missed that.
I'm wondering what you want
You
from
cut out.
officials. I'm just wondering what you want from officials and health policy advisors and makers about how they can support long haulers like yourself.
Right. Well, first of all, we need to be believed. There's thousands of us that, weren't able to be tested because of the scarcity of tests in the beginning of the pandemic. And we need rehabilitation. We need multidisciplinary care centers set up for us that we can go to have coordinated efforts with specialists to treat our symptoms. The numbers are only growing bigger, and this is something that needs to be addressed.
Susie, I want to thank you for your time. Of course, we wish you the best. Take care.
Thank you so much for having me.
You're welcome. That's Susie Goulding, who is from Oakville, Ontario.